Greetings and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're talking about solving absolute value equations. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. We're going to start with a little recall and some story time just to gain some confidence with adding and subtracting negative numbers, because you'd be surprised. It does throw us off sometime. The typical, stories about adding and subtracting negative numbers are like yards in a football game, or bank accounts, right? Adding numbers and taking away money and, oh no, I'm in debt! Stuff like that. But I've got a different story for you. This is a story about friendship. It's a lesson on life that maybe we could learn from. So check this out. Let's say we've got two students. We've got student 5 and student 2. And both of these students, you might say they're pretty positive individuals, right? Like student 2, maybe they're the student that they do their homework all the time and they don't swear. I don't know. They don't speed while they drive. And they're just they're an all-around pretty good student. Maybe they're on some drama club team thing or stuff like that, right? And then we have student 5, and student 5 is just like overachiever. Wow, 5. 5 not only does their homework, but they started a program to teach cats how to do the homework, and they go to the soup kitchen and they feed the homeless. And not only do they not swear, they teach monkeys how to read and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, they're just an amazing, positive person. So when I have two positive people get together, what do you think the overall effect is going to be when these two people become friends and start hanging out?
They're going to have a covalent bond. Or they're going to be negative because...
Whoa, what's wrong?
I'm going to have to say positive.
Yeah, it's probably going to be positive. I mean, think about two positive people. They're coming together in the name of good, and they're going to be like the Avengers or the Justice League or Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. Seriously, these guys are going to be a force for good, a cause for greatness in the world. And because they were the same type of person to begin with, I'm going to add the actual numbers. So 5 plus 2 is 7. So look, they have a greater good effect than their individual effects would have been alone, right? Not bad. Okay, now here's another story. 2 other students. Oh man. Guys, -3 and -7. -3, they come to class late. Sometimes they don't do their homework. They're not serving in the soup kitchen. Maybe they were on the soccer team, but they kicked off because they shoved the referee. Whoa, man, edgy, right? So -3 is kind of a negative person, but nothing compared to -7, right? -7, let me tell you about -7. -7, right, goes to the soup kitchen, punches the homeless guy, and then rips off his beard and puts it on his face and steals the soup. What? 7? Oh my goodness, you're so negative. Right? And -7, the monkeys that 5 was teaching to read, he's killing the monkeys, hiding drugs in their bodies, and smuggling them over the border. What? -7, you are just wicked. Oh my goodness, I can't believe this. I'm not even going to tell you anymore about -7. Very bad person, right? So we've got -3 and -7 here, and now they become friends. Oh man, I don't even know what I want. Whoa. Just dreadful. What do you think the overall effect is going to be when they partner up? Yeah, they're going to be even more negative. And because they were the same type to begin with, I'm just going to add the numerals here. 3 plus 7 is 10, and it was a negative effect. All right? So an overall negative effect. Welcome. We've got a new friend that joined us in class today. Welcome. You can come grab a seat, I think straight up in the center. Right. Just follow along. We're telling stories. So -3 and -7, they come together. They form this kind of a gang, and they're doing all sorts of stuff. It's terrible stuff, right? So overall negative effect. Now this third story, this is a sad story. So here's 2, right? The kid that was on the drama club, right? Pretty good student, did their homework, didn't swear. And 2 becomes friends with -7. Wow. Wow. And they're different types of people. Maybe like 2 is just like a girl that's interested in the bad boy. I don't know. And it's one of those stories. Who knows, right? And they become friends, but they're different, so I'm going to take the difference of the numbers. So what is 7 minus 2? Just like that's 5, okay. And now the question is, who was more influential in this friendship? The 7 is more negative than the 2 was positive, right? So it's going to end up having a negative outcome. Man, -7 was pulling 2 down. Oh, what a shame. Man. Now 2 used to be on this, drama club. She's teaching -7 how to better impersonate homeless people. Oh, using the drama skills. Oh no, this is awful, right? So overall negative effect because 7 was more influential than 2. And let's see the last story, my favorite. It's a story of redemption right here. 5 saw some potential in -3. Right, 5 is that student that was teaching monkeys how to read and helping cats do their homework and serving soup at the homeless kitchen. And maybe like -3, just like, I don't know, they met. And 5's like, you've got potential. You could be the president of the United States someday. And -3's like, me? What, me? And 5 is all like, oh yeah, for sure. And they start hanging out. And they are different, so I'm going to take the difference of the numerals. 5 minus 3 is 2, right? What? Oh, is there a wall? Oh, loop-de-2. And, yeah, good Waldo catch right there. And now my question is, who was more influential? Is this going to be a positive 2 or a negative 2? It's going to be positive because 5 is more influential than 3, right? 5 is more positive than 3 was negative, so it's a positive 2. And what do we know? -3s, hanging out with positive people, became a positive person. So my question for you, friends, is not how do you add and subtract numbers, because I know you already knew that, but what about your friends? Are your friends influencing you in a negative way? Or are you pulling them up? Are you a force for good? You and your friends?
My friends influence me for bad.
Oh no. Well, maybe that's something we need to reflect on. I don't know. But anyways, so there's some basic skills about some positives and negatives. Let's continue the story talking about absolute value. Does anyone know what absolute value means? What could you define absolute value or describe it?
It's like if you have a negative number in between the absolute value signs.
Okay.
It means it's the same number except on the positive side.
Okay, so if I have like an absolute value of -3, what does that mean?
It's 3.
It's 3 away from 0.
Oh, ooh, that's some insight right there. Okay. What about like, what's the absolute value of 0?
1. 0.
Okay, so 0. What's the absolute value of 7 maybe?
-7. What?
So what is absolute value? Does it opposite the thing we have, or it makes it positive, or it maintains its sign? All right, so that's maybe a rough understanding, but Connell actually had some insight to it. He said that what was the words he used? I don't want to put words in his mouth. Something about how far it was from 0. Yeah, absolute value actually literally is referring to the distance a number is from 0. Zero, right? So if I drew a number line for each of these situations here, man, those are good number lines. And that's a little bit of a number hill there, but that's fine. So here's 0, 0, 0. These aren't going to be too fancy. And let's see, so -3, where's -3 on the number line? 1, 2, 3, -3. 0 is right there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right there. So there's 7. Here's -3. So if I plot this point, here's -3 right there, right? Here's 0 right there. Here's 7. How far are these from 0? Well, we could count the spaces. 1, 2, 3. So that's a +3. That's the distance because, right, we measure distance as positive numbers, right? 0 is 0 units away from 0, and 7 is 7 units away from 0. Right? So absolute value is referring to the distance from 0. Okay? So check this out. What if I asked you this question? What if I asked you to solve this? What if I said absolute value of x equals 2? So what that's asking us is, what numbers are 2 units away from 0? 2 and -2, right? So if I drew a number line, and I want to think about like, okay, I'm looking for all numbers 2 units away, so I could have 2 units away this way, 2 units away that way, and I would have 2 answers, right? So +2 is 2 units away, and -2 is 2 units away, right? So there's 2 possibilities because they're the same distance from 0. Agreed? So there's 2 possible cases here, all right? Either, and this is what we do with absolute value equations, we break it up. And usually I say, break it up. The same way that, like, Squidward tells SpongeBob to back up the car when they're delivering the Krusty Krab pizza. Anybody? No? He says, back it up. Back it up. Right? No? Anybody? No? Okay. That's fine. That's fine. So I break it up into 2 possible cases. Either x was equal to +2, right? And the absolute value of 2 became 2. Or x was -2, and the absolute value of -2 became 2, right? So those are the 2 possible cases. It was either positive or negative on the inside. Questions, comments, thoughts? Yeah? Okay, let's keep going. Krusty Krab pizza. All right, so here we go. Absolute value of, let's say I've got x minus 3 equals 10. How about that one? So some people with the basic understanding of absolute value would say absolute value makes things positive, and that's an okay understanding to start with. And technically that is still true, but they would be tempted to be like, oh, that's the same as x plus 3 equals 10. And those people would be wrong, sadly. Sadly. All right? Because they see this negative and they're like, oh, I just have to make it positive. That's all I do, right? But be careful, friends. That's not actually what's going on. Think about this. X minus 3 on the inside here could equal 2 things. X minus 3 could have been positive 10, and the absolute value had no effect, right? So either x minus 3 was 10, or what's the other possibility? The inside of that equation, the inside of that absolute value, rather, could have equaled -10, right? And if I take the absolute value of -10, you guys would agree that the absolute value would make it positive into positive 10. All right, so absolute value equations you have to deal with in 2 cases, and you solve each, and both of them are the answer, just like we had 2 answers up here. So, and then I can solve these all normal, like plus 3 to both sides. Hey, it happens to be the same step in both cases. That's not bad. So I get x equals 13, bam, and x equals, oh wait, let's see, 2 numbers with different signs, so I take the difference as 7, and then which one was more influential? the negative. So, man, we are getting good at this. No es más mal, no? All right, how about this one? Let's keep going, moving right along. How about this thought? What if this was what I asked you to solve? Let's say, actually make it even crazier. 2x minus 1 in absolute value equals negative 3. Now, look at that in general and tell me if you see anything quirky, weird, anything that doesn't quite make sense. Think about it. Think about absolute value.
Absolute value of something can't be negative.
Wow, extremely insightful, right? This can never happen. No is what you say, and you run away. Say no no, right? And then like blow a whistle, right? You don't do that. No, you don't have to listen to this problem. You can be stern. Tell it what to do. Absolute value can't be negative, right? So I would say no solution. All right? An absolute value can never be negative. All right? So that would be my reasoning. Abs val cannot be negative. Very insightful there. Good job, Joey. Bam. So let's consider another kind of problem here. Blah, 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 blah. What do we got here? How about if I have, what about this? Absolute value of x plus 1 minus 3 outside the absolute value equals negative 1. Aha! This one's peculiar.
You can't solve that one either?
Well, you'd be tempted to say that, but
You do plus
Oh, okay.
right? Okay, so first glance, you're like, wait, absolute value can't equal a negative, but I'm not saying it is. I'm saying the absolute value of this minus 3 is negative. So the first thing that you actually want to do is isolate the absolute value. Isolate the abs val. Set it equal to 0, whichever way you want to word that, okay? So, so Maddie's right. The first thing we'll do is add 3 to both sides and get the absolute value by itself. Abs value of x plus 1. Sorry if my 1s end up looking like absolute value bars themselves. Negative 1 plus 3. Let's see. There are different numbers, different signs, so I take the difference. 3 minus 1 is 2. And who's more influential? The positive 3. So, bam, nice. And hey, an absolute value can equal a positive. So now that the absolute value is completely by itself, break it up. Backing up, backing up, backing up, right? So either x plus 1 was equal to 2, or what happened?
This one is negative.
Or x plus 1 is negative 2, right? So notice I'm not changing anything about the inside of this. I'm just changing what it was equal to, okay? And now I can solve each of these separately. Minus 1, minus 1. Hey, it's the same work over here. Might as well keep going. Solve them simultaneously, am I right? X equals 1 or x equals negative 3. Blam. All right, all right. I like it. I like it. And in fact, you could even do a check if you wanted, where you could plug 1 in here. 1 plus 1 is 2. The absolute value of 2 is 2. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Okay? And then try negative 3. Negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. Abs of negative 2 is positive 2. And then 2 minus 3 is negative 1. So both of them would work out. You could do a formal check and have it all written out as well if you wanted. But that's really the general idea, is get the absolute value by itself, break it up. Break it up. Let's see, I'm going to keep going a little bit longer, maybe 2 more examples. How about this? What if I've got negative 3 times the absolute value of 2x plus 1 minus 7 equals, and I'm going to say, oh boy. What did I do to myself here? I cornered myself pretty good. Let's see. Do I want this one to be negative? Nope. Ooh, oh, wait. Nope, 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 nope. How about negative 13? I like it. All right. All right. My apologies, friends. All right, this one's a little crazier. Cray. So my goal is I want to get this absolute value by itself. In fact, you could even pretend that this was your variable for starters. You could pretend this was kind of like negative 3x minus 7 equals something. All right? So kind of have that thinking outside the box generalization, right, sort of concept. Pretend the absolute value is your variable. So how do you get the absolute value by itself? What would I do first? Add 7 to both sides. I like it. And I'd have negative 3 abs 2x plus 1 equals negative 6. I think I agree. Now, question. What do you guys think about this? Could we? I might offer a side quest about having you guys investigate. Can you distribute? When can you? Can't you? Can you never? Can you always distribute into an absolute value equation like that? I'll have you investigate it later. But for now, I agree that this is being multiplied by that. So once again, I want to point out the same sort of logic. You can't just be like, oh, I'm adding 3 to both sides, and no. The negative 3 is multiplied by it, so to undo it, we'll divide by negative 3. And then it's going to equal a positive, which is good news for us, because that means this hopefully can be solved. Negative divided by a negative, those minus signs, they go boop, and they form to be a plus sign, like some sort of Voltron or Power Rangers or something like that. Captain Planet when their powers combine. I don't know. You know what I'm saying. So now I've got an absolute value equal to positive. Good news. That means it's realistic so far. What do I do with the absolute value? Do I subtract 1 from both sides? What do I do? Break it up. So I can't start changing the stuff on the inside until I've gotten rid of the absolute value. So 2x plus 1 equals 2, or 2x plus 1 equals negative 2. Two possible cases. And subtract 1, subtract 1, subtract 1, subtract 1. Fortunately, most of the time these end up being the same sort of setup. And I'll have 2x equals 1, 2x equals... that's going to be a more negative situation, isn't it? So I'm adding the numbers, and they're keeping the sign, because they formed their evil gang. Every villain is lemons. X equals a half, and x equals negative 3 halves. And those are my answers. And in fact, I could, if I wanted, I could do a formal check plugging them back into the original problem, and the algebra would all work out. It's a good deal. I think for sake of time, I'm going to skip that last problem I mentioned as a possibility. I think we're pretty good for starters. So, goodbye, Internet friends. Choose your friends wisely, Internet friends. Should I be friends with the Internet? I don't know. You might be pulling me down, Internet. I'm going to have to think about that.